Wat left? Incredible.
So this is not only what it appears to be. It's what it appears to be, and it's not. So, was something just said? Did someone say it? Was it heard? Where was it heard? Now, what non-duality would say about those questions is, that's the answer. Every one of those questions is the answer to the question itself. So where was it heard? Yes and no. Here and there. At the same time. It's the same thing. Was something said? Yes and no. At the same time. Yeah, there was something said. Nothing happened. Nothing was said. It's the same thing at the same time. That's this. That's the appearance being what it is and what it isn't. And the point is, there's no platform. There's no staging area. There's no sticking point. There's no personality or knowing about it. Knowing can arise, but it arises within unknowing. So it's knowing and unknowing. There's no beginning to it, there's no end to it. There's just the isness and not isness of it. And that's this. The seeker, the knower, lives in a world of answers. So it knows what's happening. It knows what this is. And it thinks through knowing it's going to find what it's looking for. It's going to find the security, the power, the control over its life that it's looking for. And what it loses, or what's lost, is this being unknowing, which is aliveness, vitally alive. And the me talking about that isn't something that it's not something that's known here, that's now being told that you could learn. That it's never known here. It's a very strange thing in a way because it's just never known here. It's always obvious, but it's never like held. Nobody has it in their pocket. What seems to happen when the me falls away is that platform is no longer there that the me normally, or the knowing would normally rest on. So there's just a falling through.
Is there any way? Is there some way to get enlightened? Like your path or something?
What would the path be to here?
Just to be here.
Is that not already the case?
It is.
So where's the path?
This is the path.
To what? A path means distance, doesn't it? Yeah. That's the problem for me, is it wants to know this. So it wants to get away from it, because it thinks then it could have it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no difference to it, there's no separation from it, there's no way to get it. See, the problem for the me is, it is already what it's looking for. So it can't separate itself from it to know it. Knowing is separation. Distance, time, space. The appearance of separation is an evidence of separation.
but not for me.
That's what he says, yeah. But that, not for me, is exactly what's looked for. That not for me is nothing or no thing arising as not for me. But the me only rests or holds onto or knows not for me and can't recognize the nothing out of which it arises. So it lives in a world of duality, which is an illusion. A dream. The dream is that something's happening. And for me, in there, not for me is what's happening, and that's real. And that totally distorts everything. Because it makes it look like something's happening out here, but nothing's happening.
Is there no exercise to do?
You're not listening. You're not listening. Why aren't you listening?
Yes, I know it's this. But the things are going on.
That's just what I try to say. Is for me, things are going on. Now, when there's no person left, things still seem to happen. But it's recognized that it's nothing happening, or that it's emptiness, or there's no depth to this appearance. This is a postcard, and we're robots. That's all there is. It's just an appearance of happening. It has nothing behind it. Nothing behind it, nothing behind it, nothing above it. It's just a play of lights and colors.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing defined in it. There's nothing defined. There's no past anywhere. There's nothing defined in it.
Mm-hmm.
All the me ever finds is, this isn't it. Is there a path to find it? That's all the me can find.
But if you find that you can't find anything, then you find something.
Well, that's the life of me, finding something. It constantly finds what it knows over and over again. That's all it can do, is find what it knows.
Mm-hmm.
Think of something you don't know. Blank. Nothing happens. So it lives in a world of what it knows. Which is dissatisfying. So it searches for something else.
Mm-hmm.
It could know. The whole time, the whole appearance being what it's looking for. What's happening right now is exactly what's looked for. Not by me, because me is dissatisfied, experiences duality. But the appearance is nothing or unconditional love appearing as that. There's nothing to find. There's nothing lost. This is already the wholeness that's being looked for. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere else to find anything. This is already everything. It's all of it. No, well, that's the point. I don't get it. Nobody ever gets it. I'm quite serious that that's the point. Nobody ever gets it. And that's what is happening there, trying to get it, which is the story of me, which never ends. Because it can't get what it's looking for, which is the end of itself. And the end of itself is this, being and not being. Because the self, this person hangs on being, hangs on knowing. It's terrified of what it's really looking for. It's terrified of where was that said. It's terrified of having no answer. It's terrified of that being the only question, of the question being the answer without any solution to it. To this being the solution to it. It's terrifying of that.
If you say there are no steps, and we talked about Muji, for example, or Jeff Foster, and you said there's a flavor of personality.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like step in a way.
A flavor of personality? Or the loss of flavor?
Yeah, there's a full personality, there's a flavor of personality, and there's loss of personality.
Yeah.
So that's steps in a way.
Yeah. But those apparent steps fit into what we talked about at the beginning, which is, are those steps yes and no? So there's no real step.
Well,
Just like there's no real end to me. Because me never was. That's the trap for me, is that it's waiting or expecting something to happen. It wants something to solve the problem of itself. And the solution to the problem of me is recognizing there never was one. That's not happening. That's not something that happens. Nothing changes.
Yeah, and everything changes.
But not for me. Nobody carries along a bag of changes. That's the reason there's no way, there's no step, and there's nothing in it for the person, is that nothing happens. Nothing has ever happened. So the recognition is nothing ever happened. Happening was a dream. That doesn't make happening real. That takes out the dreamer which thought it was real. But nothing changed because it never happened. Nothing happens. This is emptiness moving, stillness speaking. It's all absolute equilibrium. There's nothing happening. This is not going anywhere. It's not coming from anywhere, it's not going anywhere. It has absolutely no need. It is already complete fulfillment. This is that.
So you fully lost the sense of you are moving through time?
Anything can appear. You see what you're asking? You're asking for someone to know that there's no one ever happening. How would that be? That doesn't make sense. No one knows it. I try to explain it, I don't know how to explain it. So there are sort of recognitions that in a way has an effect of killing off the dreamer. That doesn't mean that someone knows there's no dream. It's not replaced by something else. There's then how much does the fact that you can't think of what you don't know bother you? Not at all. Why? Because you never think of it. It never comes up. It's never a thing. Well, there's no one here, but nobody knows that. So nobody thinks of it. Nobody worries about it. If you ask, there's nobody here. Of course there's not. There's nobody there either. But nobody knows that.
Why do you say this is not enlightenment?
This is not enlightenment.
What you're talking about?
I don't know. this is not enlightenment. What is enlightenment?
I don't know.
Right. Well, if we're talking about a personal enlightenment, then there's no such thing as personal enlightenment, because nobody becomes enlightened. But, I mean, it depends on how you define enlightenment. I don't know what I meant. Sounds like I'll say anything.
Isn't enlightenment like the falling away of the me?
You could say that.
Yeah.
So there's no identity surviving enlightenment, you can say.
Nobody knows that, though. But no, there's no identity that survives enlightenment. There never was an identity.
Yeah.
If there isn't an identity, why is it hard from my mind to accept the horrible things that are happening and saying, oh, we're all robots, so killing and grotesque things that are happening when nothing is happening, but it's happening, yes and no. How does that work?
What, exactly?
Well, killing and all the fighting.
How does killing work?
Yeah, but why?
Why is there killing? I mean, I bet you there's a billion different answers of why someone kills someone else. I mean, in the story.
In the story, yeah.
In time, that happens in time.
Which means it's not really happening.
No, it's happening. It just doesn't make any difference, except if you're being shot.
Whatever. I mean, it's hard for my mind to kind of say, oh, it's just, robots, it's just unconditional love happening. I mean, I can't put the two together.
No, I think I hear what you're saying, though, is you have some sort of rectification that you're supposed to think it's okay.
Yeah.
Some sort of detachment.
Yeah.
The me lives in a story of good and bad and right and wrong, because it has an idea that if it, through free will and choice, if it makes the right decisions, it will find what it's looking for. So it puts everything in those categories of good and bad and right and wrong as an effort or a sort of a structure through which to judge its own life. And so if somebody cuts in front of a line and that's not okay with you, then they're bad. And if somebody screams at them for doing it, then they could be good or bad. Depends on what your story is.
But there's a conscience when you do something bad.
Is there?
Or generally.
All right.
People feel bad when they've done something bad, generally. Otherwise we just go around murdering each other.
Would we?
Huh?
There is a theory or a thought. This what's being shared here has been shared for forever. And it used to be that Zen cloisters, monasteries were set up in concentric circles, and the center is where the secret message was then let out, because there was a huge fear that if you just told everybody, people would start doing everything. That there was this conscience, what you're talking about, this super ego, as Freud said, would lose control and everybody would just go crazy. The misunderstanding there is that there's real free will and choice.
The misunderstanding is that there's real free will and choice. Can you give an example?
Of real free will and choice, don't think of a pink elephant. That's the end of free will and choice. The brain's like a machine, it just processes information.
But you have the choice to think of a black elephant.
Well, but you're still thinking of an elephant. And that is where me lives. That is exactly the place where me lives, because what that does, that's the idea that what is has some second. It could be different. You could have had another thought. And that's that depth of this appearance, which is completely unreal. That other choice isn't there. The idea that you had the thought that you could think of a black elephant is the illusion. Nothing had that thought. It just arose out of nothing. But in the idea that you did it, that's that depth to this appearance, that there's really something happening when this isn't happening. This isn't really happening. It just seems to be happening.
In the mind.
It's not the mind. You could call it the mind. It depends on what you mean by mind. But
It happens in the mind.
not for me. No, it doesn't seem like a mind to me. This seems like, you could call it mind. I don't know what you call it. Call it psyche, call it an appearance, a dream,
If
an
you
illusion.
think of an elephant, then you think it in the mind.
But this is as real as any thought. It's all the same thing. It all arises from the same place. What is apparently inside is no different than what's apparently outside. There is, in the end, no inside and outside. There's just what arises.
So this is like a thought.
Well, it's apparently a cup or a table, and that's a thought. It's all the same thing. It's all nothing appearing like those things. It's all no thing, energy, life, aliveness, beingness, appearing as those things. It's all the unspeakable this appearing as that. And appearing as is completely misguided, misleading, because there's no separation between this nothing, no thing being and the cup or the table. That is no thing. It's like all the questions at the beginning, there's no answer. This is all a completely open question, without any need of an answer. It's just freedom.
So it don't matter what you call it.
Nothing matters, no, absolutely not.
Did I hear you correct last time? You said maybe just mind stuff going.
No, go ahead and ask. I'm just worried you're going to say something. Go for it.
Sometimes you say something in between the
Yeah.
talks and
Yeah.
you said there could be reincarnation if you believe into.
Well, it seems like in the story there could be reincarnation. Why not?
There could be really reincarnation until you believe in it.
Why? Because you believe in it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that means, I mean, this body could die, and still a me remains,
Yeah, an I, yeah.
It takes a new body, something like that.
Well, that hasn't been recognized here, but what's been recognized is that the I is not necessarily dependent on the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that gives the impression that there could be reincarnation.
Yeah. Same experience for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you follow it, what would happen is that even with the I that's not attached to the body, so that the I the recognition is also that the body could die and it just makes no difference and nothing that happens in the body is really affecting one or the other. There was still a tension, there's still a knowing, there's still an I there.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And that is an illusion.
Yeah.
That is completely unreal.
Yeah.
But the I can find a reality of itself that is eternal.
Yeah.
But it's not infinite. So there's a real platform where it stands.
Yeah.
I am can somehow become independently real.
But it's no platform in a way.
Oh, absolutely. The I am is a platform. It's the I am. It's the I know. It's the I realize nothing. It's the I am God.
Yeah.
Mm.
The absolute platform.
Absolute, yeah. That's the experience of it.
That's the point where you say nothing ever changes. And
exactly. So the I can do all this amazing stuff, go into all these different worlds and all these psychic abilities and all these things, and nothing happens.
yeah.
The only place where anything real happens, the only reason anything real is experienced is because there's an I that experiences itself as real.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes the whole appearance have any reality at all. As soon as that falls away or is recognized as never having been, it's recognized that nothing's happening in here and nothing's happening out here. It's the same thing. This is timeless, spaceless, everything appearing as all of this. And then you go, wow. 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 Yeah. But it is wow, isn't it?
Nothing ever happens
But wow!
And if you die, you still know that this is it.
Nobody dies. This is death.
Okay.
And life.
Yeah.
So you're not afraid of physical death anymore?
You know, you have to ask me when somebody has a gun to my head or I'm dying, but it doesn't, there doesn't seem to be anything here that would be afraid of it. Because although there's nobody that lives in knowing that there's no death or anything like that, it does seem that anytime this conversation or these things are shared, it's so obvious that this is already death. It's so obvious that nothing's happening. I don't know where the fear would come from. Because there's no need for this to be anything but what it is, or for it to go on to be anything else. There's nothing incomplete. It's just a change of scenery or no scenery.
So you never feel threatened?
Well, see, that's the funny thing. You know, if I'm driving in a car and some bad driver shows up, there happen to be a lot of them, then there can be fear or a reaction. You know, if you think of what fear is, it often comes here, you know, as an explosion in a way. And then that's just what seems to happen. What goes away is the gnawing on it that goes on afterwards. It seems to not be there so much anymore. You know, it's sort of feeding off of that, ooh, I was afraid, or what if I had died?
What could have happened?
What could have happened, yeah.
You don't understand?
No, it doesn't seem to be.
Or you don't avoid...
But nobody gets that. You know, what you're talking about, sort of the conversation, which is sort of totally misleading, is that there's something happening there which would then stop happening if the me fell away. And so there would be somebody that knew that. But there isn't somebody that knows that. Nobody here goes, oh, I would have thought about that before and made a story out of it and done all these things. It just is the way it is now.
Or you can still avoid dangerous situations or dangerous places.
Rita normally has to push me out of the way from trucks and things, so I don't move fast enough.
I mean, my current issue. Would you go to on a flight where was a bombing happening?
The thing is you're saying that somebody really has free will and choice, and I'm really saying that's a dream.
So it will happen or not?
Yeah, exactly. Just like everything else.
Yeah.
So if we die, we shouldn't take it personally.
Nobody dies. If you could take it personally, you wouldn't be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can't, nobody cares.
And you said there is a wow about this nothing being everything.
Yeah.
Is this wow there all the time?
No.
Just
I mean, it is and it isn't. It's not like somebody lives in wow, but anytime it comes up, it's obviously wow. You know, that is the most amazing thing ever. First off, it's saying everything that I seem to be saying. This is all there is. This is freedom. This is beauty. This is unconditional love. At the same time, I mean, I know I can't explain it, but there's drops on it. The water's holding to the side for no reason. It's just doing that. And there's a form made out of glass. It makes sound. It reflects light. Who could have thought of something like that? You know, the me lives in a world of knowing. It knows what it is. It knows that it's a glass. It knows it comes from how do you make glass? Sand. Yeah. You know, you heat it up and all the rest of it. And in that, completely loses the fact that this is no thing classing. That it's completely unspeakable, the reality of it. That it knows that the glass is over here and you're over there. But is that true? Or is it just the way it appears right now is what appears and that's all there is to it? There's no here and there's no there. There's no distance. Everything is simply timelessness being whatever is arising. Isn't that crazy?
and small children and artists sometimes live in this.
Nobody lives in it.
Or yeah.
But it is the way things are. But it's the same there. Even with a me, that's this. That's amazing. That this can appear as a me that has a real story. That's also pretty amazing.
It feels like there's not so much space there to see all this.
I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
And in childhood.
Yeah. For me, it was, I could see beauty, and I knew there was more beauty than could be recognized. That was the blockage I felt when there was a me here.
Mm. I asked because I can really dive into this beauty, and then I forget everything, the time and what I have to do, and it's then often very shocking when somebody calls my name, or I see, wow, I have to do this and that. I totally lost myself. So I find it very complicated to bring this together, the normal life and this being in with the beauty of life. I don't know how one can manage this. No one manages, of course. I don't have any free will and choice. Yeah.
But the telephone call and somebody calling you are the same thing. That's also just what's happening.
It feels like the one thing feels like being connected, and the other thing feels like being in.
But all feelings are this, appearing as whatever comes up.
Yeah.
This isn't a particular feeling. This isn't a particular experience or a state that one achieves or finds or has. It includes all feelings, all states. Non-dual.
Yeah.
This isn't something that can be understood or gotten closer to or anything. It really is beyond understanding. It includes murder and death and horrible and terrible things. It includes that. That is equally as perfect as states of bliss or feeling connected with everything. Those are the same thing. There's no difference to that. Nothing depends upon it arising, this appearing as a state of bliss or this appearing as murder and death. There's no dependence on that. It's the same thing.
It would be nice to make a hole there and then fill this in.
When you talk about filling it in, you're talking about this being better. That what is, there's a better than what is. And that's the story of me. That there's a better place to be. There's a better what is than this. And that is eternal. That search never ends. Because there's no better than this. This is it. And that includes wanting it to be better.
You said. You said you're not talking about silence?
No, right.
But this is silence. Like,
It's silent sounding.
huh?
Silence sounding.
If you say this is death,
Yeah,
for me it's the same, like this is silence.
exactly. Because what the person wants to do, it can do no thing. It can sort of get an idea of that and live in that. It can get something. It can get an idea of that and live in that. And it can live in a world where something is the bad thing and no thing is the good thing, or silent. So I'm supposed to be silent. What it can't get is this is silence sounding, no thing appearing.
Death and life.
Exactly.
I mean, can you sit just a whole day and you are satisfied?
No one does anything. There's no way that you could ask me something that would give you a pointer to what you're looking for. It's ordinary. When I get those questions, I always have the thought that there's some expectation that I would sit around and float a little bit during the day, surrounded by a golden aura, which I have to turn down at these meetings where you think of as special. Because the me thinks, because it feels like it's something wrong with it, that there has to be something special that's going to happen. That's the reason there's these ideas of people like Jesus or Buddha or Ramana Maharshi, the special people who you can then never become, but always feel like at least they have the answer, which is the hope that me is looking for, which is the continual, endless search to fill the feeling of something being wrong, which will never be filled because it comes from the recognition on some level that it's a dream. It's a complete dream. All there is this. This is it. This is fulfillment. It's complete. It's free. There's nothing else. That experience that this isn't complete is the only misunderstanding. And when that's recognized, this is then ordinary. There's no need to be special anymore.
Or is it maybe like you saw these clouds and this everything, this wow, and it become...
The wow is this. This is wow.
I mean, you had this point, this wow, and
This is wow.
this wow. And is it better than before 5 years?
No, absolutely not. There's nothing to hope for.
Like, gewöhnen.
Yeah, you become used to it. There was nothing to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
You really are talking from an expectation that something needs to happen to make that sense of feeling not good enough or something missing to go away. And that's the misunderstanding. This is already that. This is already that wow. This is already utterly amazing. See, you think you know what it's like to sit there on the couch. You think you know what it's like to live in a body and feel the feelings you're feeling. You think you know what it's like to hear these words. You think you know what they mean. That's the cage. None of that's known. It's all absolutely new. It's never been before. The whole idea that it's been before is a dream. And that dream is what you're trying to get out of, thinking there has to be something new. This is new. This is that. And it'll never be good enough for me. Never. It's not satisfying. It isn't fulfilling.
You don't have an ordinary job.
Well, it doesn't matter what job there is. Nobody has anything, and there is only ordinary. Oh, you're talking about this? I don't make money at this. You guys need to put more money in that box. I'm gonna have to go live on the street. Or you could bring food, clothes maybe. You see my clothes? It's terrible. I know. I thought, here, you want me to give you my shoes?
I could still ask you why is it like, why is this and not this?
Exactly. That's the trap. You can only ask why if you think you already know. If you know this isn't this, but it is this, you don't know that though. Nothing is known already. Knowing is the illusory world, the dream of me. That I know there has to be something better, because this isn't enough.
So what can a person do?
Make money.
It's a hard job. I'm just kidding.
Need some oxygen.
What's being shared here gives absolutely nothing. The person, the separate, the sense of self, gets absolutely nothing from this message, because there's nothing in it for it, because there's nothing lost.
But
there's nothing to
there is
find.
no here.
That's right. When that's recognized, there's no question either.
So outside is also nothing.
And there is only nothing appearing as outside. In this instance, the thought of outside, which isn't really outside. Let's have a break.